Hi ladies, this is going to be a tutorial on how to make a double bow headband using the Liverpool fabric from your Pretty Box. So you are going to need a few things that were not included in your Pretty Box. That, of course, a pair of scissors, measuring tape, a piece of scrap paper, a Sharpie or a pen, preferably a marker, doesn't matter, your two needles, and your two pins, and the needle that was included. You should have gotten a little bag like this, something similar, with the thread, the needles, and the pins. You have your measuring chart. See if I can zoom into that. This is just a help guide. You don't have to go exactly by this. Sorry, but there we go. Okay, and let's get started. Okay, for this headband that I'm going to be working on, I'm going to choose to do the 12 months, and I'm going to require 18 inches. So 12 months, 18 inches. Okay, so the first thing I recommend we do is cut out all our pieces. We're going to need our headband. We're going to need two strips, one for the top bow, one for the bottom bow, and we're going to need another piece for the center. All of the measurements can be found on your chart that was provided in the Pretty Box. Okay, so like I said, I was doing the 12 months. That requires 18 inches. Okay, so I'm going to open up my Liverpool fabric, and you are going to want to discard of this white strip on the edge, so we can start by trimming that piece off as straight as you can. Okay, so we've got that. Now we are going to measure 18 inches. Okay, so we have 18 inches here, and 18 inches here, and we're gonna cut right here. Okay. Okay, so we have our 18-inch strip. Let's go ahead and measure that. 18 inches. Okay, now let's put that off to the side. Okay, now we're going to cut our bottom bow. Our bottom bow is going to be 13.7 inches. So 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we're gonna cut right here. And there goes my measuring tape. Okay, put that to the side. We're gonna cut our top bow now. Our top bow is 12.2 inches. Okay. I apologize, ladies. My audio stopped working while I was recording. So here we're just going over the top bow, how it measures 12.2 inches. We mark it, we go ahead and cut it, set it aside. After this, we're gonna measure out our center strip for the bow. That's gonna be 3 inches. And depending on taste, you can go wider or narrower. Okay, now it's time to assemble the headband. We get our headband strip and our needle and thread. I do have the needle with a thread double, meaning it's not just a single thread going through. It's gonna be twice, if that makes sense. I'm showing the picture there where I tie it at the end. So we're gonna set that aside for now. We're gonna gather our headband base and we're gonna make the ends meet. And what we're gonna do is run a gathered stitch through the top. Like so. And I'll speed up once I show the process a little bit. So there we go, we're just gonna gather and put the needle through, gather, put it through, gather, put it through, all the way till we get to the end. Okay, once we have reached the end of our gathered stitch, we're gonna be tying it off to secure the stitch. And after this, we do cut off the excess thread. And as you will see soon, you will need to tie another knot because we will be using the needle again. So it's just better to have it ready to go. So go ahead and tie that knot and set your needle aside. So this is going to be our headband base, and here we're just gonna fix it so that the edges are facing the right way. Okay, and then we can just set that aside so we can get on to the next part, which is going to be the marking both of our centers on our loops. We have the bottom loop, we're going to put that in half, make the ends meet as well, and we have the top loops, or the top bow, I'm sorry. Also make the ends meet, make sure everything's centered and squared away. And this is where we're going to require our scrap piece of paper and our Sharpie, so we can get that now. This is a step you might want to skip in the future, but I found that it does help me when it comes to lining up our bows. So we're gonna get the folded edge on top of the scrap piece of paper, and we're just gonna make a marking on the very corner. And don't worry about the marker showing through on your fabric, because this part will be hidden by the center strip. So we're gonna do the same thing to both of these, and we'll go ahead and speed up and show you how they center up. Now that they both have the markings, we can see how they line up, and it will be a lot easier to find the center for our bow. We're now going to get our bottom strip. We're going to measure out 3 centimeters, and which is about 1.25 inches. We're going to put that in the outside corner, and we are going to bring that in. Where I get the marking with my hand, that exact point is going to be lined up, on the center. So we're folding it up, we're looking for a center, and it's gonna line up there. We want it overlapping a little bit when we're making our bow. We're gonna do the same thing to the next side. We're gonna measure out 3 centimeters and grab it from that point. Look for our center, which is right there. You can see the center, and that's where we're gonna line up. There it is. That's where we're gonna line up the fabric so that it is overlapping. We're gonna get our pins now and we are gonna secure it. And this is in order for it not to move when we're moving our bows and layering them. And one thing that my mother and I figured out while we were working with this bow is that it is a lot easier to run a stitch down the middle of both of the bows. And my mom's gonna actually do that step right now. So we're gonna do exactly the same thing that we did to the bottom bow. We're gonna do it to the top bow. So I'll speed through this part and we'll get to the stitching in a bit. Okay, we're also going to want to grab our other needle and run it through, our pin. And now that's going to be our little guide, matching up the pins to make sure that we are straight even. And like I said, we're going to stitch both of the bows together so that we could do our pinch. Here we have Mom walking us through the stitch step. She's reminding us to verify that the pins are lined up and that we are able to make sure that both of the sides are even, because this is where our pinch is going to go, and we want to even pinch both. Part of the reason that we decided to do the stitch was because when we were gathering the pinch and running the needle through it, which is the next step, part of the fabric was falling out. We weren't able to grab all the fabric at once. So Mom came up with the idea of running a single stitch, and that way when we pinch our bow, it's a lot easier. Okay, so once we get to the end, all we do is trim off the excess thread. If you feel you can pinch the bow without the fabric falling through, then by all means you can skip the step and just go straight to the next step. Our next step is making the pinch, which will require the thread and needle. So we're going to start pinching from the top. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Once we have done that, we're going to get our needle and we're going to find the center of the bow and we're going to run our needle through there. Once we have done this, we're going to wrap the thread around the bow to secure it, making sure that the bow is centered. Now it does get a little bit tricky getting the needle all the way through. So as shown here, I did open one of the loops and push through there, so you can try to do that in case the needle doesn't want to come out. I did find that using rubber gloves helped me grip the needle better to pull through, so I didn't have to open it the second time I did it. But you can do this, just open one of those loops, push it a little bit further out, grab it, and you're good to go. So now we're just going to wrap the thread around the center of the bow. And once we do that, we're going to secure it at the end, at the back of part of the bow, So let me just go ahead and speed through this part as well. So here I just quickly make sure that my pinches are even. This next step, we're gonna grab our band and we are gonna get our glue gun and put some glue down the center and attach our bow to the top. Once it is attached, fully attached, we are gonna move on to the center strip. Just make sure that it is centered and your bows aren't lopsided or anything like that. Okay, finally, onto our last step. We're gonna add a dab of glue to our center strip. There we go, down the middle. Not down the middle, just a dab on the edge of the strip. We're gonna fold over the fabric to seal it. And we're going to do the same thing to the remainder of the fabric. We're gonna add a dab to each of those corners. And then we're just gonna close off the fabric. It's important not to run a strip of glue down the middle of the fabric to, in case you feel like it's a better way to secure it. The reason you don't want to do this is because we're going to stretch this strip when we wrap it around. If you have that strip of glue there, it won't stretch. Okay, so now we're gonna get our headband and we're gonna turn it around. We're going to add glue to the strip, to our strip, and attach it to the back of the bow. We need to make sure that the strip is attached. So don't work prematurely or the strip will come loose, because we are gonna be tugging on the strip. Like I mentioned earlier, when we wrap it around, we're gonna be stretching it out to wrap. So just make sure that you hold it down and that it is fully attached for when it comes to wrapping it around. Okay, so now we're gonna be turning our bow around. As we are stretching and wrapping, we also want to make sure that we are not messing too much with our pinch or the center of it. This is why I had mentioned earlier, I don't like the strip being so thick. I feel like it makes it uneven sometimes. So what I went ahead and did here was pinch it a little bit to give it a little bit of a pinch center, and I left it like that. I did tug on my bows just to make sure that they were even. After you're done with that, all you have to do is turn it around, trim off the excess of the strip, and once you do that, you add some glue to the inside so that it is closed off, and then just finish it off like you would to any other bow. Add glue to the center, and we're still closing it there. Okay, and we're gonna add glue to the strip, and we are just going to, eventually we'll get there. We're just going to attach it to the other end, and we are done with our strip. Again, being careful that we are not wrapping the center with our edges folded, our edges of our band. Okay, so we just press down, secure that it stays in place, and it looks like it did. And there we go, y'all. Here we have our double bow Liverpool headband. Takes forever bow. I'm just kidding. It won't take forever. It's just this walking through. I apologize for the long video, but there you have it, your Liverpool double bow fabric. Oh, just a quick mention. This was 18 inches and it fit my 9-year-old daughter. So if y'all feel like you need to tweak on the sizes before you get started, make sure to do so. Thank you so much for watching through this whole video. I appreciate your time, and thank you so much also for purchasing the pretty box. See y'all next time. Bye.